on this computer. Hi, this is Dyanne Klinko, Backstage Pass Presents, and you can probably recognize who I have talking with today. A wonderful man, the Aaron Emerson, son of Keith Emerson. How do you do, Aaron? How are you?
Very good, thank you. And thank you for having me on and having a chat about my father and his music to people that would love to hear some crazy stories or something that I can sort of remember from here and there,
I'm sure that we'll bug you about that. So,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm going to get right into question that someone else had asked too, and I'll get to questions a little bit later.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how you got started in the music industry. How old were you?
How I got started in the music industry.
Well, yeah, how old were you when
So,
you first started to play?
uh,
Let's start there.
okay, so I was very fortunate to have a lot of keyboards, to put it bluntly, in the barn in at Stonehill at Chittingley that were always lying around. And when I left school, some friends of mine, Matthew Farah, who I'm still friends with today, who I work with, Howard Doran, who's no longer with us, and Lawrence Harwood. And we just dived in and we just started messing around with music. We were called the VIPs. We had no idea that that was my dad's first band. I swear to you, we had no idea. It was a coincidence.
Wow.
We did have we I do remember going around the bar and opening up flight cases, and it was like because at that point I was really discovering music. And we were back in those days, obviously, we didn't have internet, and we didn't have we were just surrounded by the music that we had. Obviously, it was a lot of vinyls. And we'd open up a box and it'd be Ringo Starr's snare drum. And we would, maybe we shouldn't actually play that one. No, we won't put that one on. But I do remember putting on a couple of Dad's microphones on Tony's snare drum kit, which I didn't realize there were two Neumann microphones that should have been for the Steinway, but we put one in the bass drum and one under the snare drum, bass and snare drum, and yeah, they just popped and blew straight away. So wasn't the flavor of the month for that particular time at that particular time. And we just created, and every now and then Dad sort of really let me do my own thing. He did teach me when I was younger, but when your father teaches your kids, it's very different. Like I've tried to teach Ethan, not that I'm a credible piano teacher by any means, but then I had other piano teachers teach me, but he just let me do my own thing. He'd help me when I got stuck on some music. He would help me through it. I remember he taught me how to play Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs, which was a cover that we played. And our first band was called Curfew. And then we moved on to Buzz Tonic. And then we got a record deal through my mum's. Now my parents have separated at this point. Now I'm trying to remember dates now, which is difficult. So I'm probably thinking 1996 here. And we got signed to a Danish record company called Mega Records. And we got an album made, and it did nothing. I remember going to visit Dad in LA, and I saw it in a bargain bucket for 99 cents, and I was so happy that it made it over that side of the world. I didn't care about how much it was. I was just like, oh my God. And I think actually no, I do actually remember going into Tower Records in New York with Dad as well, and there was a Buzz Tonic label thing with the CDs, and there was one copy there, and I'm just, wow, they must have sold out, having known there was only one copy ordered, that's still
Did you want to buy it?
We're on our way. Do you know, we're on our way. You know, we'd play everywhere. We played little, you know, pubs all around England. We just played everywhere. It was just because for the love of the music,
Yeah,
for the
sure.
love of being together as a band, for your friends, and coming out of the country and trying to do something, because I was terrible at school. Did I want to be like my dad? No, I didn't want to be like my dad. I didn't want to jump over the organs. I didn't want to smash them up. I would have got killed for that. I just slowly started getting into a lot of West Coast music, you know, like the Doors and Jefferson Airplane, and and stuff with the organ. And then music was changing over here, and I was just very, you know, my dad was doing his thing and I was doing my thing, and my musical direction was just going in a different path to how his was growing up, you know.
How'd your dad feel about that?
Oh, he was very supportive about it. You know, I mean, he, going back to it now, listening, I would always put the Cult, the Cure, on in the car, or the Mission, or all these sort of bands, and I was just kept branching and branching out. Jesus Jones, Nezza Atomic Dustbins, Happy Monday, Stone Roses, and it just kept Blur, you know, and I was just really into that sort of independent style of music. But you know, he would be in the car, and as much as he could, he would definitely put on the jazz channel as if he could bear it, you know. And the thing is now is that's what I play. I love listening to it, and he was very good at things like that, because we had a game with him that we were in a restaurant once with the family and stuff, and you'd put this was our game, and I haven't spoken about this before, but there would be I'll put on any jazz song, and I mean this, he would know the obviously the name of the player, who was in the band, the record label, and when it was recorded.
Wow.
And then we'd hit him with another one, and then he would do the same, and we'd hit him with another track, and he would do the same. You know, it was just his knowledge of that era of music was unbelievable, you know.
Wow, that's incredible.
Horace Silver, you know, I saw him in New York at the Blue Note Lounge, and he asked me to get him an autograph, and I queued up to get his autograph from my father, and I remember that moment. That was really cool. That was pretty cool.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. The first time that you saw your dad perform, and he was stabbing the organ with his knives and jumping on top of it, pulling it over, what was your reaction? How did you feel about what you were seeing?
Well, I don't really recall, because that was all happening when I was probably about 2 or 3 years old. So I don't really recall. I think this was just normal.
Okay.
So the questions of things like, when did you realize your dad was famous, or when did you realize what was going? I didn't actually think he was famous at that point. I just thought this was just how things are. I think everyone can sort of relate who has a famous, or someone who's done well, in their career. I mean, if he was doing another trade, for example, up until, when I was about 15, then all of a sudden he made it big, then I'll be like, oh, then that's when I realized he got. But it was just not, I don't mean to be big-headed, or I don't mean to be, but I was very fortunate to grow up around that situation, and he'd already made it big before I was born, so it was just how it was.
It was
part of it. And
I
was very, very fortunate and lucky to be a part of it. I wish I was older at that time. I would have a lot more fun. By the time I was sort of getting a bit more, okay, let's go. I got my, I'm 21. I can go out to bars now. It was sort of slimmering down a bit, but yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. So now, you played in lots of bands. Are there other instruments that you've learned to play, or did you stick just with piano?
I tried guitar. it just hurt my fingers after 10 lessons. And then that's when we got the band together, there wasn't a keyboard player. So then I started, and that's when I fell in love with playing the piano.
Oh, I see. Very good. And
I enjoy it. Yeah. I'm
you-
nothing like my father. I'm nothing like my father. I just enjoy playing, and it makes me happy. That's all I can say. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. And you know, we all love the way you play too. It's you and
Well, thank you.
Ethan are just amazing.
Well, yeah, Ethan's a different. They say it skips a generation, right? Well, yeah, he's not only he's playing guitar and bass now. He's learning bass and guitar. He's at Northbrook Music College, and he's doing his degree in music, and he's learning computers and the logic and programming and writing, he's met a lot of friends who are in that sort of in that field, so good for him. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
Zach is doing well with his acting. He likes acting and drama and that
Really?
bit, so we're all in the art thing, we're all in the art.
Everybody's in the arts.
Everyone's in the arts, and the wife is flying the planes.
Oh, is she really?
No, she's not flying them. She's cabin crew, but that's fine.
Is she really?
Well, actually, she's actually our captain. She's actually our captain. Yeah, yeah. Without her, we'd all be lost. I think
We'll all be lost.
Be lost. Yeah.
So, and you know, I want to say, you know, your dad and Greg and Carl, they're just amazing people, separate and together.
Well, when you get a chemistry like that with bands, when you get talented musicians as they all are, and the chemistry works when you get together, and that sort of special magic works with every band, doesn't it?
Yes.
And if someone was to leave that magic and someone to come in, and sometimes it's quite difficult to keep that happening. So I'm quite, for example, I mean, I love the Foo Fighters, and we lost Taylor Hawkins, and they've got a new drummer in. I think his name was Josh something, but I can't remember exactly. But they got a new guy in, and I saw it the other day, and my God, he's a good drummer. Really good drummer. So we'll see how that happens. But that, you know what I mean? That's, everyone knows that one, doesn't it? Yeah. The chemistry. It's all about the
chemistry. And
I don't actually remember hanging out with them. Not to say that was anything wrong with that, but they all seem to have their own separate lives going on. So when they all got together, they did the music and they did it well. And then when they were on the road all the time, like many bands, and then when that finished, they would go off and do their thing. Yeah, that's all. I don't remember. I never remember really hanging out with them that much. But yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to get to some questions here. Well, first of all, Jerry Evans says hello. He is traveling and couldn't make the interview, but wanted to make sure that he did say hi. I'm going to also just go into Facebook here real quick the same time and grab some more questions. Let's see now, Facebook, and get over right away to our questions. Okay. Here we go. Sorry about this. I got to get over to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Titans of Prague. Okay, let's see what we have here. Let's see. I'm trying to actually find all the questions that I saw just a little while ago.
All right.
Where are they? Well, this is embarrassing, isn't it? Let's see. Anyway, while I'm looking, let's do this.
I could do.
Let me see what you're doing. That's awesome.
Some Brazilian music. Yeah.
Yeah. Play a little something while I grab these questions. That would be awesome.
I love that Hammond.
You know, your dad loved that Hammond too, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was the Hammond SK1. He last played at the Barbican. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I got a ton of questions here, and now I can only see one. This is so strange.
Well, those are I do remember some of the questions. I remember that I was going to be asked, or something about some memories of my father.
Yes, we were going to talk about some stories that you might be able to share, which I am really anxious to hear about. And I am still going to look for these questions.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's something that I get asked when I have chats, and it's hard for me to sort of go back into that, because it's now being, you know, I don't know, my brain or something is sort of fading or whatever it is. But there was one moment. Then I went, we went on a Harley Davidson love ride, and there were thousands of Harleys. We're all going to this Hell's Angels camp, and I just tagged along with Kenny and Dad and a friend. And I think it was it Larry Hagman, and Peter Fonda. I think there was maybe someone else who were running the whole. It was for cancer, charity for cancer, and we all get to this I don't know, this canyon place with field and all the bikes up there, and then right at the back of the field is a stage set up, and Robbie Krieger is playing on the stage, doing all the Doors covers with his son singing. And I think, if I'm correct in saying, maybe I'm not, but the Allman Brother kids were there jamming along, I think. And there was a Hammond, and there was a guy playing. And we watched the first set. And on the second part, my dad goes up and goes, "Hey, can my son get up there and play Soul Kitchen?" Because he knows that one. And the guy spoke to Robbie, and he goes, "Yeah." And I mean, oh my God, it was the most nerve shattering experience to go up. And honestly, there were about 10 or 11 people watching. Everyone was at the back of the field looking at the motorbikes. No one was watching what was really happening, which I didn't understand at all. And then I get up, and then I look at Robbie, and I'm in California, and I'm fucking playing with Robbie Krieger. And he's looking at me, he goes, "Do you know how this goes, son?" And I went, "Oh yeah." And it's like, you know, like, oh, what was, no, sorry. That thing, you know, Soul Kitchen. So, and he goes, down, 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 and my legs are like shaking all over the place, you know. I'm like, oh my God. And then we're going into it, and it's just the most amazing moment in my life. And I'm pretty sure my friend is filming this. Anyway, the solo comes on, and I'm doing my solo, and would you believe it? Here he comes, Mr. Keith Emerson. "Get off, son. Here I come." And off I fly, and he's on there for, of course he is, 15 minutes. Maybe it was 2 days. It was probably like months, but you know, you try to get him off, and that was it. Anyway, that was fun. Thanks, Dad. I'm not sure if I came back on after he soloed. I was probably at the bar. I don't know. I can't remember. But so we look at the footage of it, and unfortunately, the chap who was videoing it had held his battery on all day long. So when it came to the actual part, all we got was and then the battery's dead. And then that was the end. And that was my biggest moment in my entire life. And then the battery died. That was my biggest moment ever. It was my dad and Robbie Krieger and the Doors playing in this field in the canyon with about
11
12,
people.
11, 12 people watching, 15, whatever, just, that was a moment. That was a moment. That was my biggest moment.
That is an amazing story.
That would be, I would say my biggest. I would definitely have to say my biggest one, that one, and going fishing with him, but that one. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to talk about that one in a minute. I've got somebody here that has a question. Andrew Cove Tech, and I hope I'm pronouncing, Andrew, your last name sort of correctly. Have a question for Aaron. Do you have any favorite memories or memories that stand out from watching your dad play on the 1974 or 1977 tours?
Unfortunately, I actually really don't. I was only about 4 years old, 4 to 7. So unfortunately, I really don't.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. There is that story that I've said before. We were in a car leaving. I think it was the Montreal Stadium. We were leaving, and this is the only memory I have. And we were in the car and we were leaving after he played, which I don't remember the show, and everyone surrounded the car and started banging on the windows. And I thought, man, what did you do tonight? You must have been really bad. Why do they hate us so much? Yeah, that's all I remember. I remember I was very scared and just thinking, this is a bit nuts. Why are they all just banging on the windows? It didn't make any sense. But that's the only memory around that time.
Wow, and that's a big
there was a lot of moving around. There was a lot of there was a lot of moving around because of the tax stuff. We had to leave England, and we just tried to avoid all taxes and things like that. So
yeah, that's right. I remember
we went to Switzerland for a year, and then we went to Nassau for 5 years, I believe, and we came back to England in 1980. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay. I have another question from Denise Lake. Let's see. Will you ever write more beautiful songs like Ride?
Oh, bless. Yeah, so I didn't want to go off. So that song I did originally with Gary O'Brien singing, and then I just played it without Gary singing on it. But Gary was a big inspiration. So we started that off together, to be honest with you. I'm working with Gary at the moment, and Ben Townsend, and I used to play with back in 1988, and they are the most fantastic musicians. He is the most amazing songwriter, and Ben plays everything and produces and mixes. And I'm so fortunate to be able to be playing with them again. So Gary has written the most fantastic album, his album, and I have been very fortunate to be able to play on those tracks that he has written.
That's great.
And I've been able to do my own little bits on there, and there are some incredible songs. It's coming out in a couple of months. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it. There is a particular track called Joanna that I just think it is so big and epic. I played it. We did it in November in Eastbourne, and I did it on Duke Ellington's piano. And I've got some Moog in there, and it's just him singing and me playing, and then it just goes off. And there's some different styles, but as far as with Ride goes, I didn't want to be that sort of player that just played sort of that style all the time, because I love so much other music, and so I've got a 10-piece jazz funk band called the Jar All Stars. I've got a wedding band called the Soulphonics that we do stuff, to get some extra cash. And then that bit, and then I've got the Sounds Electric, which is like a sort of electronic-y, dancey, vibey, Groove Armada type of band. And then I do loads of sessions. I got people sending me tracks, and I put some vibes down on there. But yeah, I keep busy.
You do keep busy. Wow.
And I help a friend wash his windows as well. He's got a washing window company. So in the daytimes, I go out and help him wash his windows with him. Yeah.
That's right.
So I just keep busy. And I do wedding events, and then I do bar wedding events anywhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I do anything.
I can picture you doing weddings because the way you play, the music you play, I can.
Well, I love it. We do soul covers, all of that stuff, Stevie Wonder and everything, and it's just so much fun. It's great, and I got my a little rehearsal room in the back of the house. I fit 10 people in here, and the neighbors next door, they all get out in the gardens and they all love it. So they all love the music playing. Wonderful. And then sometimes I get Ethan in here doing stuff and playing with it, and it's just happiness is what I'm.
Wow, that would be an amazing thing to be able to watch you and Ethan in your studio playing.
Yeah, he's really into his music. He's into stuff, he was doing a lot of Dad's music, but of course, he's not going to be doing that forever. He's 17, nearly 18, and he's going up to gigs all the time now. And he's listening to Arctic Monkeys and all sorts of bands. So it's just what happens,
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another question for you.
Yeah.
Greg Grider. My question is, will Carl Palmer, Aaron Emerson, and Robert Berry ever perform as three?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I definitely don't think that would happen. I don't know. I love them all, and I particularly Robert Berry is a very good friend of mine.
He's a wonderful.
I love him dearly. There was a situation. He did invite me to do a project a couple of years ago, but the playing and all that, it's just it's so far out there that it's probably not in my realm of capability. I would be fair to say.
Okay.
It's not my style of playing.
Gotcha.
But there's never been no one's ever asked me about playing with Carl. But I would love to do some work with Robert with other bits and pieces. Of course I would. He's a great musician.
He is fabulous.
Yeah.
And let's see, I think we've already addressed this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
Please ask Aaron, and this is from Cathanated Ratino. Please ask Aaron when he first knew his father was famous.
Well, I never thought he was famous. I just thought he was just how he was. That's a very odd question to. Maybe it was just one day when I came back from the pub and just said, "Hey, you famous?" Yeah. Dang. You get the drinks. It's your round.
Okay, I got another.
Yeah.
Kathleen Dutcher. Oh, I cannot pronounce these last names. Dutch Army Hayton. Question. In one interview, Greg mentioned that EOP was more a business arrangement, but in some photos, Greg and Keith seem to be more than just business partners. I'm hoping they were actually really good friends outside of the band.
I think they were. Like I said, I never saw Greg or Carl come round to the house that often. We all lived in very far away places. We all lived in, I think Carl was in Tenerife, and we were in Nassau at one point, and Greg was in London, I think, maybe somewhere else. I'm not sure. I know that they did. I know there were. I heard there were a lot of what's the word, button heads, I guess, on writing
Yeah.
and direction in as far as, you know, the direction of the music.
Mhm.
You know, I was a big fan of Greg's music.
Yeah.
You know, Dad was more into the progressing, the classical, the long pieces where Greg would come in with the hit sort of three chord, you know, no disrespect to that, but very catchy, folky, sort of lovely. And I will say this, there is absolutely no one on this earth, even to this day, no one sounds like Greg Lake.
No, no one.
When
Mm-mm.
you hear Greg Lake's voice, you know it's Greg Lake.
You know,
There is
there's no question.
nobody. He just had just such a beautiful English angelic voice.
He did. He
Deep
could do
and
so many different ranges as well.
yeah,
He could throw that deep, hard voice out there, and then he can do these beautiful ballads that
yeah,
are so touching, and it's just
yeah.
such an amazing array.
It was
Uh,
very, I guess being, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I guess being in that situation, they were all trying to be really like pushing the boundaries. And I guess that
sure.
sort of stuff, you know, Carl was really pushing the boundaries with the drums. I mean, he's a magnificent drummer.
Yes, he is.
I mean, you know, you put the three together and you got that sound, haven't you? And then where do you go after that? You know, they got, and you know, to be fair, they all got thrown together very quickly. You know, that, I mean, I believe at the Isle of Wight festival, they only just happened. And I don't think those sort of things happen today. You know, there's a lot more working out today, isn't there? There's a lot
Yes.
more work. Everything is so much thought out. There, they just sort of bang, off you go, boom. You know, and then after they came up, then they had to make a quick album. You know,
Yeah.
and they had to do that quick one, didn't they? You know, and you know, and they were doing that album, and I think that was that track with Lucky Man. You know, Dad
Yes.
wasn't around, and they're all in the studio waiting for him to turn up. And apparently, he didn't turn up till 9 o'clock. And you know, what's this? And then he did that solo very quickly, and then goes, right, I'm ready for a take. And Greg's like, no, that's the one.
Yeah. And your dad felt how? How did your
Yeah,
dad?
and I was like, no, I want to do it. But so I know he hated playing it. He hated playing that solo because he always, and every night, you know, when I see him do it again, he's always trying to spin a little jazzy thing on it,
A
or
little something extra.
he's you could just see in his face, he's, oh, I can't play it note by note, I want to do something else, you know. But it only works for that sound, obviously the Moog for that sound, and the lines, you know, it just worked. It worked for that, for it. It's one of
Wasn't
those
that
moments.
wasn't that the one of the earliest times that he worked with the Moog?
That, yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that I
That from the beginning, which is another great sound. I
yeah,
love that sound
yes, I do
at
too.
the end there as well. But
Yes.
the starting of it, yeah,
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 yeah. It's so funny too because that solo in Lucky Man, it makes that whole ending. It
yeah,
just makes it, and it's so perfect, and it, you know, you recognize that as that's Keith.
yeah. So I mean, in lockdown, if yeah, in lockdown, I decided to record, to give it a go and have some fun with it with a chap called Brett Copeland, who's a friend of mine in LA, singer. But that didn't work out. But he introduced me to some musicians, and then I started sending files over to them, and they started sending files back to me, and we just started this project that just carried on and carried on, and got its own sort of legs happening. And so I got Matt Fuller on the drums. So if you haven't heard of these guys, you will. He's played with everybody, you know, B-52s, to name just a few. We got Rick Salon on the ukulele. Matt Zach St. John, sorry, drums. Zach St. John drums. Sorry, Zach St. John on the drums. And we got Matt Fuller from Puddle of Mud, and obviously Mark Vanilla is in there with the guitar,
Oh,
and Chuck White from Alice Cooper playing the bass, Nathan James from Inglorious doing the vocals.
Wow, wow.
And of course, we've got Jeff Downs from Yes, who's it was a great friend of ours and Dad's, doing the intro and playing throughout the song. But then I got a chance to go over to Philadelphia to EMIAP, to where the Moog was, and the Vince Propello, and I went out there to record the end line, and it's all come together, and hopefully it'll be out in a couple of months.
Yes, and we're going to
But
get to that
it's been a real getting the video together and putting it all together. It's a real labor of love, and I'm really happy with the results.
Yes, and you're talking about this video. This is going to be available when?
In a couple of September.
In September. Okay,
In September,
and that's something
August,
that
September.
Will that be available where? Do you know?
We're just going to put it out and stream it, so we'll see. And we're going to put it with the ELP box set. It's a 20-disc massive thing that it's a whole thing coming out in September for ELP fans. 20 CD box set for everything that he's ever done, remastered, his music, his films, everything. It's really good.
Everyone's going to want that. Everybody's going to want that.
It's a great collectible. It's I'm very proud, and Dad would have been really proud.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure, absolutely. All right. Well, I've got yet another question from Roger White. I'm curious what Aaron believes is the best advice his dad ever gave him. I like that question.
Well, I like that question. I like that question, but that's really easy. He just said, just don't stop. Don't ever give up. Just keep going. Just don't. So honestly, that is exact. I'll never forget that. He just said, just keep going. Just keep going. It'll happen one day. I'm still waiting for that time, but it's still. I'm 52. When is that time going to happen? No.
Oh, that's so great.
But you obviously just keep going at it. And that's what I tell the kids. That one. It's just keep going. Yeah. If you love it, just keep going. And he was very supportive of me with that one. So yeah,
that's so awesome. That's great. All right, I have a question for you from Andrea Tutani. Dyanne, I have a question for Aaron. Your dad always appeared to be such a humble man, even though we, his fans, knew he was a brilliant, talented composer and musical genius. Was there ever a time when Keith actually admitted that he thought or acknowledged to himself that he was a brilliant musician? I know that to him, the pinnacle of his career was composing the piano concerto. I can't pronounce it very well.
Concerto, yeah.
Concerto, thank you. Yeah. After that, did he finally think of himself as accomplished as we, the fans, did way before that?
No, I don't think so. No.
Really?
No, I think, I mean, towards the end, it was different because he was really struggling with his hands. But if I can really remember back in the day before he had problems with his hand, then he was always trying to push it and push it and push it. That I think that's why, with Works Volume 1, Works Volume 2, and then they're sort of going off in this other direction. And I think Carl and Greg didn't want to go in that direction. I'm pretty sure they didn't want the orchestra to be playing at the Montreal Stadium, which they actually lost money doing. selling it out for 3 nights with that orchestra. They actually made no money. They made a loss on that. And I think Dad was to blame for that one. So that probably didn't help things going on. But as far, he was, Love Beach. Some people like the Love Beach. There might be a few songs. I mean, that was when the record company were trying to tell them to be like a pop band or try to do the short songs, which they weren't. They should have just stayed clear of that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because carried on with their own thing. It just wasn't what they were. They were misled into some other going to Nassau and recording at Compass Point and standing there like the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees do that well. Leave that to them, not them though.
Not
But
them. That's not their MO. That's
it
not
just wasn't. I think they just
no.
lost where they were going, you know. And for me, it was always the Hammond organ. It was always the Moog. It was always the piano.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I didn't like the brassy stuff. You know, there's certain albums that I didn't like. There's some that others may like, but I always liked the rawness and the angry stuff and the weirdness at the beginning of all of that. You know, I wish he'd have just done a jazz album. You know, like Charlie Watts did. You know, just get out of this jazz band because you know he loved it so much.
Yes, he did.
You know, yeah.
Yes, he did. And you know what? I'm going to ask you something real quick. Heath got his very famous knives from who?
Well, they changed all the time, but it all started at the Marquee Club because Lemmy from Motorhead was his keyboard roadie.
Oh, that's
And that's
awesome.
before, as far as I can recall, if I'm wrong on this, then someone tell me, but I'm pretty sure that yeah, it was Lemmy gave him the knives because he was very much into his Russian memorabilia stuff. And he gave him the knives. And I think, you know, he might have lost them that night, but he always had other knives or duplicate knives. I'm pretty sure you can't do that today.
Yeah, probably not.
If someone was to bring a knife on stage, I pretty think you'd get arrested now. I think it's been, I think the things that life's changed. Why has everything got so careful?
It's gotten complicated.
What happened to the danger and everything now? It's all, everything's just so careful and worked out and precise.
Yes, it is. So
Yeah.
did your dad look at the knives and go, I know how to use them, or I have an idea?
I hope he didn't. Yeah, he came from the circus. Basically, you know, during rehearsals, he had my mum on a with an apple above her head, and would generally just aim above an apple, and us and the kids. Generally, we would line up every morning. Oh crap, Dad, not again! Come on, son, I need to throw this knife at your and get my aiming right for tonight's show. All right, yes, as long as I can get a backstage pass. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That is so cool.
I don't know. Yeah, it's yeah, those knives. I don't know. I think a lot of them were replicas after a while, and it was just one after the other. But yeah, it's all good.
Okay, now I have a question from Jenny Grover. Please ask him what it was like playing and touring with Big Country.
Well, I didn't tour with them. With Buzz Tonic, our manager was Ian Grant, and a lovely chap. Who also worked with the Alarm and all these bands, you know, and we were so lucky to all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, we got a really decent manager here. But a lot of things happened. The record company, we were about to go over to with Buzz Sonic, we're about to go over to America, but with Mega Records, but I think it was Podogram bought out Mega Records, and because of our sales hadn't started peaking, we were shelved, and that was just the end of it. So Ian Grant, so the band started to fade away, and then Ian Grant, who was managing Big Country, got me to play with them. And the first rehearsal, I'll never forget. I turn up, and I know the band, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm sort of going up a little level here. You know, and I listened to all the tunes, and I got all the licks down. I'm sitting on the on the rehearsal stage waiting for the band to show up. And now on this day, I don't know if you remember, but in Scotland, Dunblane, there was a guy that went into the school and shot some kids. It was a while. I mean, we're talking 97 here, 98, if I remember. And I think one of his children were there, so not injured, but so the vibe wasn't great. You know, it was at the start of the rehearsal. It wasn't great. And I actually didn't know what was going on at that particular point because I hadn't seen the news. I was waiting, then the band show up, and Mark Bazicki on the drums, who'd played with the Cult, you know, Sea Cell Sanctuary, which was one of my favorite songs, and you know, and he was a great guy, and then all the band are getting up there and they're playing, and I'm sitting there and I'm like waiting. Am I supposed to start playing now? Or I'm just gonna wait. After like half an hour, I'm just like, I'm really bored now. I'm just going to get this Moog sound up, and I'm just going to like rip in this solo coming up now. And I just go, And then Stuart Adamson just stops the band. Never forget, he just stops everything. The band stopped. And then he turned to me and he goes, I'll never forget. He goes, we're not having any of that space age shit. We are not having any of that space age shit. And I was like, whoa, oh, this is not a good start. And I didn't really have a relationship with Stuart Adamson, but I did with Mark Bazicki, and because he played actually on the Buzz Tonic album. And then I did one show with them, which is on a CD. It's at Dingwalls in Camden. It's called Eclectic, and I did it with Kim Mazzell, Steve Harley from Cockney Rebel, and some other people. And it was live, and we're playing, and there was a camera, and they're recording it live, and there was a mobile studio out in the back. And my JBL amp is by my foot, and my keyboards are there, and I'm tapping my foot. I'm about to play, and I didn't know this, but I kicked the power off. So I've gone to play, and I've got nothing. And I can just imagine everyone in the lorry just going, "We've lost keyboards! We've lost keyboards!" And I'm just obviously no one bloody notices anyway. But and I've just kick it back on in time. Oh, we're back. So I had to go back to do some overdubs. And I got 50 quid. I was fine with that at the time. I got 50 quid. And then our band supported Big Country at a massive festival in Northampton. And that was scary. And that was all it was really with them. Yeah. And then we played with Lena Lovitch. Lena, I don't know if anyone remembers Lena Lovitch, but we were her backing band. And I played with Crazy World of Arthur Brown. I remember playing with him, having a lot of fun, doing some tunes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I have another question from Suzette Foster. Question: what was your dad like off stage? Favorite foods, any funny stories, which we're going to get to, or memory of him that you would like to share?
Well, fish, definitely fish. He was a fish eater, 100%. That was all about
what I've heard about
fish,
that.
Fish.
Love fish. Yes.
Love fish. Loved his white wine. I loved his fish.
Yes.
That was it. So we went out one morning when we were in Nassau. We went out fishing, and we went out for hours and hours and hours, and the sun was coming up. It was a beautiful morning. It was, you hear the crickets, and it was still dark when we set off. It was one of those moments like Jaws, and then we got out there, and there was a Navy buoy where we were told to go, and it wasn't that one, so we had to go and look further out, and then you just saw the sea come alive with all the fish jumping up, and then as soon as we put in our rods, you could see them hitting it, and we were full of fish. El Dorado, I think they were called. Tuna, bluefin tuna, I don't bet. And then we came back, and it was just one of those magical moments that we said we would love to do again. Sadly, we haven't, but it didn't happen. But it was just a magic moment. And the other moment was when we were going from one island to the other, and then the sky was crystal blue and the ocean was completely clear, like glass, and you couldn't. It was like you were in a bubble. And he goes, "Go on, Aaron, jump in. We'll do some water skiing." All right, sitting in there. Here he goes on, puts on the John Williams Jaws music. I'm sitting there freaking out, dun, 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 and so petrified of sharks. Thank you very much, Dad. That didn't help me at all. And the other one back at home, he loved chickens. He loved his chickens and Peggy and the rooster and stuff like that. And he didn't realize that the rooster would be like making the noise every 4 o'clock every morning. That happened over and over again. And my mum told me one time that he had enough. He walked downstairs, got his shotgun, went down and shot him. That one. But then there was a newspaper ad in London about a fox, and he he decided he wanted to save this fox, and he brought it back to the countryside, and he wanted to tame this fox. I don't know what he was thinking, but the fox bit through his fingernail, so he had and then broke free, and then ate all his chickens.
Oh no!
So just a stupid idea, really.
What happened
Just
to the
really
fox?
stupid.
What
Huh?
ended up happening?
I think he's still eating chickens. The fantastic Mr. Fox. Just a really stupid, one of Dad's stupid ideas, really. Just like, it's just stupid. I mean, no sense.
True.
No sense. Sometimes didn't have any. I mean, Exhibit A. But you know, we had, I mean, as far as my fondest memory of him, you know, our last holiday that we had together was that, you know, we had, I don't know, you get the newspaper over here, you got the Sun, and then you get this little coupon, £9.50 to go on a holiday down to Cornwall. And Joe and I and the family at that point, we cut out these coupons, and we got this little caravan down in Cornwall. And as we got down there, I knew Dad was at home, and we called him up, said, Dad, why don't you come and join us? And he was like, and you know what? And then so I'll let you know. And he took a train all the way down to the end of the track of Cornwall, and he told us, I'm on my way, and we were so happy that he was coming to join us. And it was just like this little village, and the track just doesn't go any further. You know, he just turns up, and then he comes off his big flying jacket, you know, and off we go. And he stayed in the caravan with us, and we went around getting mussels. And then as we were driving back, we stopped off at a little town called Polperro, where he grew up as a little, what? No, not grew up. Where he spent time as a little boy on holiday. He took he had a picture of it that he took, so we created that picture of him there, and then we stopped off and then drove back. So that was our last holiday, and it was just beautiful. It was just lovely.
Absolutely.
Really, really lovely.
That's a memory for a lifetime.
Yeah.
It really is. You know, going back to your fear of sharks, I thought I saw a picture of you next to a leopard shark that was on your dad's chest in the bathtub.
No, that was a nurse shark.
Well, that was a nurse shark.
Yeah.
And were you afraid of it?
That was Damon.
Did you?
That wasn't me.
That was Damon.
That's not me. That's Damon. Yeah, that's not me.
Okay, sorry about that. That was just something off the top of my head, and I thought.
No. Yeah, I mean, nowadays, nowadays that probably wouldn't really happen. But you know, I think I don't know how he caught it, or it was an accident how he caught it or stuff. But he thought it was funny to do because that's his sense of humor.
Just bring it home.
You know, yeah, the animal activists would be a different story on that now. But you know, he was just being silly. Yeah. Going nuts. Yeah.
Well, you know, I think I have asked all the questions that I can think of, and I think I have addressed everybody else's questions.
Well, the one thing that I didn't mention, that I forgot to mention, was that there was an album that Dad did called Beyond the Stars.
Oh yes,
classical album. That was his last pieces that Terry Nicholson, composer who he worked with, translated all his pieces, and we were up in Abbey Road, and Ethan has played the Dreamer on it, and it's going to be in this box set. We're not sure why, or there was some problems with the record companies. We're not really sure what happened, but I think things have sorted itself out. There's been a lot of crazy stuff, I can only tell you, after his passing, that try to make things right and honor. But I think we're there. I think we can get on with things. But it's fantastic. So I can't wait for everyone to hear it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and where can people get that album?
So you can actually get it on the Keith Emerson .no, I believe. Yeah, online. You can get it online. Keith Emerson .no.
Is that also available in CD?
Yes, it's CD and LP. You know, and it's very, very expensive doing LPs and cassettes and stuff like that. Because I wanted to do loads of cassettes. I mean, I'm loving the cassette revival at the moment. I think that's great. But you know what? It's pricey, and we're not like you know. But it's a collector. It's a collectible box set. So and everything's in it, pictures and everything. So it's good.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So I look forward to that. Do you have any shows coming up?
Well, yeah, I'm playing. There were 2 festivals that got cancelled through councils, which was a shame. But I'm playing this Saturday in Brighton, and then we've got another one in Shoreham, and then we got a couple of weddings, and then we've got another festival coming up. But it just comes when they come. So
Gotcha.
I can always put it out there and let everyone know. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, where can people go to look for your shows and other information?
Well, I have a website. One of them is the Gyratory All Stars, which wasn't my name that I came up with. But I joined this band called the Gyratory All Stars, and I've done some music with them. We did a cover of For What It's Worth, you know, Buffalo's Springfield. For What It's Worth. That's going to hopefully be in the next couple of months with that one. And then for the rest of them, Sounds Electric, which is a real favorite of mine. We haven't got a website together. We've only got about 8 songs with that one. Gary O'Brien, he's got a website on he's on Spotify, Gary OB. Check out his material. I played on a couple of them, but you'll get the feel of the vibe of the new album. Yeah, and we'll keep posted.
All right, and you have a website.
I have my website, but I'm not doing. I'm working with other people at the moment, so I'm not doing stuff like Ride and doing my own stuff at the moment.
Okay.
I'm just collaborating with other people. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. We got there.
I've
enjoyed it. It's great. I've enjoyed it.
I tell you,
you're easy to talk to, darling. You're easy to talk to.
I have really enjoyed this so much. I've learned so much, and you have made me laugh like nobody's business.
You gotta laugh, darling. You gotta laugh.
You've got to laugh. And I really thank you. It was an honor to be able to sit down with you. And
it's a pleasure. Thank you for asking.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate all your time. You take care, and hopefully we will chat again.